Welcome to Formnext 2024 and welcome here to Industry Stage where we have our Formnext TV program just for you at home and for you guys here in the hall. This is our second day of Formnext TV live stream here from Hall 11 D72, and yesterday already was full packed with a lot of information, with news. And we saw experts here on stage in product design who stated several advantages of AM, like 3D printing, empowering designers and engineers to innovate faster. New customization options were stated, and with steadily growing print volumes, 3D printing will continue to revolutionize the approach, product design and manufacturing. That was the common opinion here on stage. At the afternoon was full packed with new solutions from additive, with Pitch Next event. My colleague Sven was hosting that one. And but the audience, what was your highlight? You can write it at the comment column in LinkedIn, where you see the live stream. And so we are very happy to get your questions and your comments there, so we can include them here on stage. Yeah, our team here produces a lot of live broadcast insights and reports for the visitors, for the exhibitors. So if you're interested in these, make sure to make contact to one of the Formnext officials. Yeah, today again you can expect a lot of interesting program around additive manufacturing experts and discussion panels here on stage. Today we will have industrialization as topics and figures from the AM market. So I would recommend that you zoom in the one or the other time today. Yeah, but now I think it's time that we have our morning coffee here. Before we start into the real business, it's really time to take a coffee, and I'm very pleased that I'm not alone in my coffee drink team here. So I'm very happy to have Rainer Lotz with me. He is President EMEA of Renishaw, exhibitor and chairman of Formnext Advisory Board. Rainer, good to have you here.
Good morning.
Markus Heering, he is VDMI Managing Director, Trade Association and Working Group Additive Manufacturing, and honorary sponsor here at VDMA is honorary sponsor of Formnext. And of course, I mentioned already Sven Krause, co-moderator here in our Formnext live stream. Yeah, Rainer, maybe a short review. What was your first day of trade fair yesterday? What is the mood at your booth?
Well, it's always obviously exciting to wait until the doors open, and then you wonder, okay, does anybody come through the door? And I can confirm many visitors came, so we had a good first day. And I would say overall, what changed over years now, you know, when we look over several years, what changed is you see more mature visitors around the technology. It's not so much anymore the people, they come and, oh, what is it, additive, what is it like, and is it a fancy technology, is it a good technology? No, you have mature visitors coming in, and thank God, many of them with a project. So they come with their parts, they come with a project. They said, okay, I need 1,000 parts of these per year. That's the size, that's the material. And this is the area in my manufacturing hall. And so we have very mature visitors with clear ideas where they want to invest in additive. And I would say that's a constant change, but that was visible on the first day. That was very positive.
Do they already know the shape and the design and the material? Are they so
absolutely. Some of them, they come with their CAD model, and you really look at the CAD model. You have all the details, the properties, the tolerances, and you can right away, actually on the booth, you can make a feasibility study and tell him, is it something useful or isn't it useful, you know, to print this part, and that's a very good development.
So that's a first big step into industrialization, what we have as topic today.
Absolutely. Know-how on both sides is important, and I think the industry was growing up. You know, in the period of the hype. There were a lot of promises, and not all of them fulfilled, unfortunately. But today, the industry is more careful and is grew up, but also on the customer side. And when you look at it, medical industries really grew up. Aerospace always have been really experts in it already. And obviously, probably for the bad reasons, we see a lot of projects in the defense industry at the moment.
Now, I think we are going to talk about defense a bit later again, but I want to get you in. What was your highlight yesterday?
As he said, we have seen a lot of people. You know, VDMA booth is a little bit different. So we have a joint pavilion. This time, some more exhibitors as we had in the other shows. We have an area where we show some products. Usually, this year we decided to show products where additive manufacturing is an enabler. So these are just products from industrial production, what you just can produce with additive. There is no way with the classical technologies to do that. And I guess that is also important due to industrialization, that you show there are solutions what for you need additive technologies, and that is still available, that is mature, and that is used in industry. And we see, as each year we see an interest from the visitors about that, and then they can go directly to the exhibitors and talk with them about solutions, about technical offers, as he said, with their ideas, with their approach, what they have, and then they go there. So that is, for us, the show where we be here and why we are being here. We have not to sell anything. We try to get in contact with our members and try to show what is additive, what is the state of the art.
Yesterday, Sven and I, we already talked about your survey. You've done a very comprehensive survey, and so you can maybe share the one or the other figure or number about the mood in your community. When you say you brought more companies to the fair, that sounds like a quite good mood. They want to show what they can. They want to exhibit what their experiences are.
Yeah, we do this survey usually twice per year. So we have a spring survey and an autumn survey. Now we are speaking about the autumn survey and the results. What you mentioned. What we see, first of all, the industrial conditions and the economy globally is not in the best situation. We all know that. And therefore, if we compare this result with the others, we see it's not as positive as it has been all the other times.
So you're talking about the German markets especially?
Now we speak also about the international markets. Business expectations are lower. In the long-term perspective is still positive. So if we speak about in 2 years ahead, they are still positive and believe 80% believe it's growing. But in the shorter term, it's more moderate, I would say.
So let's talk about 1 second about the reasons. So we all are very happy, especially here at the exhibition, that there is the C word. Nobody wants to talk about the C word, Corona. So that is it a reason for a lack from these times that the companies still have problems? We just make some assumptions. What is with US, the change in government there? What is the problems we have in Germany with the new election date? Are these parts of the mood in your community?
I guess one issue is we have a lot of sectors what are now struggling, what have a real decrease. Automotive is one. But a lot of industries are depending on automotive.
So that is a structural problem with electromobility and with we talked already about China.
And additive is also supplying technology to mechanical engineering companies what are delivering to automotive. So automotive at all is not the main focus of additive, but the supply chain is part of it. And the supply chain has a lot of problems, and therefore we see I would say less business expectations for mechanical engineering at the moment. We have a global economy crisis. We have it in China, we have it in the US, we have it in Europe, especially in Germany. So all these things coming together. Rainer mentioned the 3 sectors where we expect growth. The market share of these three sectors are in additive higher than in classical mechanical engineering industries. So we have with medical one sector where we have interesting approaches with additive. We have defense, what is interesting, and the third one is defense, medical, and
aerospace.
Where we, from beginning on, are able to deliver in. Yeah. So these three are going. Therefore, we have the positive outlook. But at the moment, it's challenging. We expect for next year that the American market is growing. We expect in spring the economy will rapidly increase. That will have an influence in additive. But if we speak about that, we see another information, what is really interesting, that is, we see China more and more as a competitor for additive. It's not anymore an interesting market.
All around the world, in Europe and in US, I think.
Yeah, and if we are looking back, we had 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we had major market was Europe and Germany, 80%, and then around about 20% on the same level, US and China as a supply market. And nowadays it's 10% and less China. US is coming in a dimension comparable to Europe, so more than 70% say US is for us an interesting market. And on the other way, if we're asking them, and we did, where are your main competitors coming from? That is now China in all sectors. So there is a switch. And if we go around at Formnext, you can see this.
Rainer, we talked about...
Yeah, there are obviously a combination of many factors if we look at the economy there. And certainly one last comment about the COVID crisis. We have a lot of companies, they lost their reserves during this crisis. So there is an effect till today, especially in the large community of medium to small-sized businesses, that they lost their reserves. And normally, you know, if you get into a crisis and you have reserves, you have some anti-cyclic investments, you know, to develop new products and so on, which you benefit in the next growth period. And many companies couldn't do that anymore because they lost their reserve. So it's a different scenario today in the economic situations we have. And obviously, us Germans, we always think it's only us who have a crisis. Guess what? We're in good company. There are others, and we moan a bit more, I would say. But there are many other markets with difficulties, including China, you know, in some segments. But when we look at the US, we obviously, the year of election is never a great year for investment in capital equipment and so on, because everybody is careful who will be the next government, can I write it off, what are the taxes and so on. I think it was a good thing that we had a very clear result. That it's not for many months who is the next government, but there is a lot of uncertainty, because we shouldn't forget we have now, it's clear who will be the next president, but it's unclear what kind of tariffs and stuff he will put on international trading. And this can also be a blockage in international trading, and it can be again a blockage in investment. So we don't know what's coming. So
it's right, but
I don't understand where the uncertainty comes from in a company because of a change in government. I have to know, as a company leader, I should know where to invest and where my customers lie, independent if the conservatives are winning or I don't know.
It's how much money do I have at what cost? Exactly. You know, it's relatively simple. If is my taxation much lower than it was before? I have more money in my pocket.
Are they waiting for subventions or what?
Yes, and just the tax rate as such will go down. But then it's also what does it do to the finance market to refinance my company? What is the interest rate on it? Then in inflation, what does the inflation do? You know, this is all important for companies where there are no reserves anymore, and they actually have to finance growth in a way, and they want to know at what cost can I finance my growth? And so it is important who's in charge in the government, and it has an influence.
And what you said about the tax may be what are coming if we're delivering it 2 years. So that is an open question for us. Nobody knows how big it will be. And then the other question is, what will be the tax for all the others?
Yes.
Will it for Japan the same? China much more or not? So, and the situation is, especially in some sectors like additive, we have not so many competitors coming from US with the same technology. So they have to buy abroad. And if they put tax on it, it's for us. If the competitors are in the comparable situation, it's okay for us. And that means the customer has to invest more. But if he is getting some subsidies from government, maybe it's able for them to do so. So these are open questions, what we still not yet know, and we have to wait what are the next decisions from US government.
I think what we agree is that we're entering a very dynamic phase. And the simple question is, how ready are we, to cope with a very dynamic phase? And we, I mean us companies, I mean us in Germany, I mean us in EU, I mean us in the associations, because we have to respond much faster on all these changes Markus just described, and I'm not so sure how ready we're for that.
Sven, let me give you one question. I want to know, you had the Pitch Next event yesterday. How many Chinese or abroad companies pitched? So my question behind is, where do the new developments, the young companies come from? Is it the European area or US or China?
I will answer directly.
Okay.
Let me first do a quick comment on that, because I see two perspectives and just want to add that. I mean,
sure.
You mentioned what is the role of the government. I see it very crucial, because if you don't know what to write off in the next year, and as you said, what about import duties and taxes, this is a big issue, especially with the US market right now, because they announced a lot, but you as a company, you don't know what exactly would happen. As you have no reserves, you have to plan how to do it. The second one, and this is what you brought in at the very beginning, Frank, was what about our level of industrialization? That's a trend I see with the companies I'm working with, and probably you, Markus, can agree, because you have all the industrial players as well in the VDMA. So the companies realize, despite any development governmental-wise, we need to improve our processes, we need to get faster, we need to streamline everything, and this is a heavy trend I see. And this is, in my opinion, the most positive trend we could see, because this is a positive outcome of a crisis. Not do too much savings, not save you unhealthy, but on the other side, especially for startups, and that brings me back to the startup area. Arno and we mentioned yesterday, the water in the river is very low, so you see the obstacles. You need to navigate better, you need to plan better, you need to get through the river with lower resources. And this, in my opinion, is in an industry where you have like money endlessly in the past, it's very good that we have this situation, because it brings us better results. Getting back to your question regarding Chinese startups, there was not a single one. And I remember in all the last events I had, we had a tremendous amount of Chinese startups. Could have different reasons. One could be that it's no longer interesting for them to present here at the audience. I don't know, probably they have enough customers and resources elsewhere, and they just start here when they're already a grown-up company. I think even they are much faster than our startups are. That's for sure. But still, the startups were promising, but you could hear in every second sentence and in their presence that it's more challenging than in the past. Let's put it that way. But I see it totally positive, I must admit. I mean, I'm just an external in this industry, but I see already so many positive, let's say, initiatives where you can see that the companies have definitely understood what is going on.
I would like to underline that, because if we go back, our successes over the last decades, it's all built on productivity, it's built on performance, and therefore we have to work on these factors again. We have to perform, we have to have good productivity, and this will increase our competitiveness. That's what we did in the past. We lived on the back of very good products and the successful companies, and there is no change in the future. There might be a little change in the competition, but we have to go back. We have to be competitive, and that's only if we're productive, if we're performing on a high level, and we can see that the performance of the solutions we see here, we can see the level of automation which is going there. We can,
crucial.
You have machines with a similar technology. They have 3-4 times the throughput now, and you can see that companies said, okay, I can moan about the political environment, but what can I do? I can get better. I can offer better,
Yeah.
I can perform, I can be competitive, and that's what I can influence. And you can already see here, I fully agree with you, you can see solutions in companies, they said, well, put your arms up, let's do it. And that's a good thing.
But the challenge, what I see, is with the competition coming from China, is we have an excellent basis in industries.
Yeah.
We have an excellent quality, no doubt. But the speed, what is coming in development from China, that is a challenge for us. So if I see from
Dynamics, yeah.
from event to event what they developed in between, that is that time what we need for having an analysis about our situation. And that is, I believe, the biggest challenge what we have, to be more flexible, to speed up in
Yes.
decisions and in developments.
But Markus, I pretty much think the higher the pressure is, the faster we get. Because we got lazy in all the being rich and getting all this money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was on the same boat, yeah? So we got everything for free, basically, especially in the startup where I'm most in the startup area. So now it's more difficult. It's a lot more pressure. You need to get faster. But this is a very old saying, that the more pressure you get, the faster you get. So I'm pretty sure we will do it. I'm pretty convinced.
I want to bring in then another subject. You already mentioned defense, and there is an advantage you not mentioned of AM, the scalability. And so in defense we see with a political situation in Europe that there is a need of material throughout the complex, all the defense, I don't know, weapons, and I don't know all the stuff. And so we need a lot more in a very fast time. We have the 100 million euros program in Germany, and I don't know how much money Spain or Great Britain I don't know who invests. So my point is this may that be the knack for industry, because of the advantage of AM and scalability, that we can grow very much faster with AM solutions, that we have to invest now to scale up this sector?
I think defense is a very good business at the moment for the wrong reasons. Let me put it like this. And obviously AM technology is very suitable to the requirement in the defense, where you either need a particular functionality of your part in a particular material, or you need very fast a spare or some part, where you cannot wait for a long supply chain. You might not always have stock in place. So there are many good reasons why to use AM around the defense industry, and we see growing part. But I also wouldn't want to forget that the volume of the business in the defense industry doesn't cover up for what we're losing in rather civil applications around this, around these conflicts
and
here.
It won't cover up in the next years and upcoming years, when every country in Europe should invest more millions and millions in this sector.
It's a time question. I work in the meantime heavily with some military organizations in Germany, and I can tell you just the timing of regulation and getting the commitment. It's not like working in the private sector where you probably have a bigger need and you need to solve it quickly. We and all the military organizations build up processes in the past that are quite long in their decision making. So it might cover.
But now should be the time to change that, right?
If we stick to the speed, my best guess is in Germany we'll get the level of ability to defend, which we had 1990, we'll get it probably in another 40 years or something like this. Yeah. That's the speed we're talking about.
And last but not least, to be honest, defense has from beginning on one sector where additive delivered technology to. So it's not a new one, it's a growing one. Now we have a spotlight on it, so everybody's looking on it, but it always has been there as a business case.
Right, but my question was if it's now the time to be the knack to open and to make a push that the whole...
The growth is not in that dimension that you say it's, as Ryan said, it's not instead of automotive or others, it's growing not in that speed.
I would say the scale we'll see in medical industry is honestly far more interesting. The scale we're seeing there. So don't want to drag you now over to a positive topic in industry, but it's a fact that the way it scales up in medical is fantastic.
And that's, by the way, that's something you could see yesterday in the startups. Despite the challenges they have with regulations and the time of getting into market, the number of startups is increasing, and with excellent solution, much better solution than a few years ago. So yesterday was amazing what we had in medical solution, very practical ones, not the fancy always, but like the tooth cleaning or I mean, they are tissue printing, so those are really
good stuff
interesting issues that we need to cover in the future with the cost situation in our healthcare. So I think this is really a boost sector for sure.
Okay, so we see the growing path. Not everybody sees the same growing path, I understand, but the mood is there. We have to wait a little bit longer to see it in the books, but the mood is good, and I wish you three a very good next today for sure, but the next upcoming 3 days, a good Formnext and good businesses and good moderation. So, dear audience, that was our morning talk here from Hall 11 in D72, and I hope you zoom in when we have the next expert insights here on stage. See you later.